What's going on, everyone? So, I'm gonna try to make this as simple and as plain as possible because people are just believing this narrative of the government and the medical industry because it's what they've been indoctrinated to do. People say, well, they're experts, they're professionals, they've been trained and they studied these things. And people don't even use common sense and logic. They have no solutions. They keep their narrative very subjective and very vague while you're running around like a chicken with its head cut off. All they have to offer you is fear, inconsistencies, contradictions. This doesn't work. That doesn't work. Do this, do that. Why nothing changes. And I just want to bring up this one point. We've all buried many people in our family, in our personal lives, who have died from cancer, heart disease, complications with kidney failure, diabetes, all these issues that stem from radiation, the poisoning of the food, water, and the air. We didn't make it a big deal. Some of us have buried half, and I'm speaking of me included, half or more of my family that I grew up with is dead because of cancer and heart disease and complications that I know come from bad food and the poisons in pharmaceutical drugs that many have trusted in. That these doctors and experts push relentlessly. And it's so sad that people are so hateful in believing that this world is a lie and a deception, because ultimately this world doesn't want man and woman to know their true value, their true identity. Because if they did, the world wouldn't be able to control you and manipulate you so easily. Do you know why we have to be poisoned on every level in society? Do you know why they spend so much money in misinformation and indoctrination to keep you thinking that you're an animal, that you're a random accident of some unintelligible design? You know why they tell you that? Because they don't want you to know that you're wonderfully made, that you have a creator who's giving you a vitality, who's giving you a mind to be connected to him. They don't want you to know that, because then you would question all their tactics and lies they use to control and manipulate you. We didn't make it a big deal when we buried half our family from cancer and heart disease. We don't make it a big deal. But you know why? Because the government didn't say it was urgent. But now that the government says that this is an urgent situation, oh, we scramble, we make this a big issue. And people don't want to accept the fact that even the term virus is a misnomer. I don't care what any of your books say, because they're illogical. There's nothing in medical science that promotes healing or cures, just treatment, pain management. Do you know why? Well, first of all, they don't want you to know your vitality. They want to keep you sick and dependent. That's part of the control mechanism. Keep you desperate. Keep you looking and trusting to them over your common sense, over knowing your body and its self-healing capabilities. They don't want you to understand that, because all of that points to the fact that you were created by a creator, that you have value beyond what the world offers. They don't want you to know that. People don't understand. They get so hung up on words because I think it's a sense of pride. Oh, this is a virus I've studied. It's a point of hubris to use knowledge to exalt your own self over reality. It's so stupid, because of all this knowledge that people are touting around. Oh, I'm a doctor, I'm an expert, I've studied, I've had experience. It means nothing right now, because this world is going to change regardless of how you feel about it, and none of your knowledge, none of your degrees is going to matter. It just won't. I'm tired of hearing it. I do not care to hear it. And people need to stop acting like death is the worst thing that can happen. It's a reality of life. That's why we should be good stewards of our bodies. That's why we should be responsible in life. That's why we should be applying wisdom at all times. Because death is not just something new because the government just told us it's new. It's been a reality, but people didn't care because they were entertained and indoctrinated into a coma, into retardation. No one cared. But then when they took your distractions away and all they gave you was fear mongering, despair, and hopelessness, and because you have no foundation to think outside of the world's narrative, you go with it. Let me tell you a little bit about what I always knew about all sicknesses and diseases, all of them. It is simply your body dealing with poison and things that are not natural. With every epidemic, as long as we can remember, in this country, I was specifically saying around the world, people don't realize when the Spanish flu came into fruition, that's when they were installing radars in military. It's always been during these technological advances that we find so convenient and so fun that these mysterious flus and pandemics reared themselves. We don't think there are any consequences to building all this magnetism around us, these fields. Because living in harmony with nature is too boring, I guess, for people to go outside and enjoy this beautiful creation. That's too boring. We need devices to make us less human, to make us less interactive with each other, to break up our family. Because while we're putting all of our energy and our mind into devices which actually just record us and give us a sense of surveillance, will give the government a sense of surveillance, it does nothing for the bonds that people need to actually interact in a peaceful, harmonious way in this world. You have people living in the same house that don't know each other. You know, and I've heard this before. You know, people say that what people call viruses are just something called exomers, which is just a normal immune response to your body under stress or poison. And I'm saying it again, this is what viruses mean in Latin: a poison or a slimy liquid. Fever, mucus, chills, muscle aches, all of this is your body trying to eliminate a foreign substance or toxin from your body, okay? And it's the same from every illness. We are focused on whatever name is convenient. I can't even say the name because YouTube censorship is so stupid and so hateful of the truth. They don't want you to believe that these 5G towers, along with the chemtrails, along with the food, along with the water, are all part of a plan to keep you sick and vulnerable, because sick and vulnerable and desperate people are the easiest to control and manipulate. In fact, they will beg for their own oppression, just like we are now. The majority of the world are walking around wearing masks and afraid to interact with their family and all of this because they're afraid that they're going to infect someone. But people didn't care when they were sharing a crack pipe. People didn't care when they were cooking all this food that had all these chemicals in it. When we bury people with heart disease and all these illnesses every year. Oh, so and so died there of kidney failure, heart disease, diabetes, all of these issues that just are simple from just taking care of your body and eating responsible, being responsible for eating good food. People didn't care because the government didn't tell you to be afraid. They were making too much money off of ignorance, off of you trusting medical doctors who only profit from things that they can treat and apply pain management to, but do not tell you that your body can be healed or cured. And people don't think that doctors can be in on this. Just let's look at most doctors. How many of them would actually give free medical advice? How many of them will come to your loved one's bedside on hospice or come to a funeral of someone they treated? How many of them will treat somebody if they didn't have money, since they supposed to care and love for people so much, which they never showed? This is all about money. It's always been about money. That's why they have to charge you. That's why free advice is not the advice they give. This world has never been a good world. It's never been honest. It's never cared about the truth. Because the truth sets people free. The truth allows you to be wise and use common sense. The truth doesn't allow you to be indoctrinated and manipulated by misinformation. Because all of misinformation and indoctrination, it has the same concept. It plays on your own evil nature, your own wicked desires, your own cynical mind, your own hubris and pride to feel value in yourself. The best way to control somebody is just catering to their own ego. Tell them what they want to hear. Make them feel good. The thing about making people feel good, you don't even have to trap them. They'll beg for it themselves, because they're more interested in the feeling than the inconvenient truth that might make them responsible and accountable for how they live and what they do. It's just sad that even now, as life as we know it is transitioning into something that people don't want to understand, that their knowledge coming in this new world won't mean anything. Everything that you studied in school doesn't matter anymore. All your career, all your productivity, you're giving that away. You're giving away your sovereignty by just adapting whatever narrative a government that has never proven to be trustworthy, that has never proven to care about an individual over a profit, that has never proven to value people over profit. They have always been using lies and indoctrination. While we wear our robes when we graduate from school, while we go stand before judges, they put on their robes and listen to false, unbiblical preachers with robes who tell us unbiblical lies and things that cater to people who only have itching ears, wanting to hear wanting to hear things that cater to their ego, to their sinfulness. For example, what kind of parent loves their child by telling their child only what they want to hear and not what is true and actually good for them? Well, this is the government that most people trust. It's so interesting that people say this government has done atrocities like slavery, deceptions, lying on huge scales, and yet on the drop of a dime, they'll believe them because they put their paid puppets up there with their DR in front of their name and their MD, and just assume that what they're being told is true. This is all biblical prophecy. The Bible doesn't want you to believe it just for the sake of believing it. It's going to prove itself. The church is a failure because it's not the biblical church. It's just a building that offers the same carnal deceptions the world offers, the same lies the world offers. And that's why it has the same results of profit and extortion and manipulation that the world offers. Most people have a false understanding of the Bible because they come from a position of self-righteousness and living by feelings and not logic that warrants accountability Everything in the Bible pushes for accountability, to uphold us to living towards a standard that exposes our deeds and our thoughts. The structure and law of the Bible is revealed within our own hearts and minds. The Bible just confirms what's already inside of us when we are honest with ourselves, which proves the simplicity of the truth concerning what's helpful and useful to our mind, body, and soul by proving results of implementation and the consequences of rejecting God's biblical law. Not blind, imaginary wishing and empty thoughts without actions, and thinking that doing all the righteous things you hate and avoiding all the wicked things you love is being a follower of Christ. That's not what the Bible says. That's a lost person with a religion. The truth of knowing our depravity, our sinfulness, which we have evidence in our own lives before a holy, infinite, transcendent creator, and humbly receiving his grace and love to save us from ourselves, which we all know we need help from just from the results of our life, and our just judgment and condemnation from disobeying him in our own iniquity, which in itself proves itself from chaos that's produced in our own lives from experience. I'm a living example of testing the Bible by living it in my weakness, in my sinful state. It has produced the fruit it said it would. It has produced strength and wisdom, which I've applied in my life because I have been given new affections that when I do good, I credit the source of righteousness to which I trusted, which is God revealed by his law in the scriptures. When I do wrong, I'm convicted of my evil or sin. Now having knowledge of the Creator to even realize I've broken his law. When before I didn't even believe in, let's be honest, before we come to biblical knowledge, we don't even believe in evil. We just believe in inconvenience. Thinking that everything we do is right in our own eyes. And then when it's wrong, it's because it's somebody else's fault. Because our life is all about fulfilling our selfish, vain desires. The true test has always been just knowing the truth of ourselves according to the perfect standard of our Creator, which is proven by his law. They can be tested and revealed by obedience to his word, by his law, which has a transformative and regenerative effect on our lives and souls to endure and transcend the evils of this world to the hope that extends beyond the world. As this world begins to pass away, which we can clearly see now, if we're just going to be honest with ourselves, then we're going to actually realize that death is not the worst possibility of these scenarios. You're going to understand that this world is trying to use the fear of death to steal your soul, which is eternal. That's what this world is all about. It's convincing you that you are nothing so that you can lose everything, that you can use the one thing, the one eternal thing that God has gifted you with. How many of us see how fast this life goes? You know that this is not an extent of your purpose, that this life is just an opportunity for you to make a free choice by all the evidence revealed to you that there is more beyond this world. That this world just gives you opportunity to see your own frailty and your own need for your Creator. This world only will deceive you and hold you captive by believing its lies. This is why this world feeds and serves our own wicked carnal appetites to our own destruction. That's why the media poisons you with things that cater to the worst parts of us. God provides a structure that exposes the worst parts of us so that we can see him and choose his law over our wickedness. The world holds broken people up to the standards of other broken people. That's why we have this broken justice system of disenfranchisement and corruption. Because the standard is based on broken people holding themselves up to other broken people. The blind leading the blind. They both fall in the pit. We all know why the world's a bad place, because we are bad people. Because we're people focused on vanity, selfishness, and corruption rather than the truth, which holds everybody on the same level of accountability. The Bible holds everyone to God's biblical law and standard, which is in sync and confirmed by our hearts and minds, by us treating others based on how we want to be treated, proven by the complaints and expectations we put on others to avoid being hypocrites, which makes the law of God a universal moral standard of truth and righteousness, where we expose the dishonesty and lies of people who hide their own corruptions and evils. We cannot blame the Bible through the lens of the world that rejects what it says and uses the words out of the definition and context the Bible it says. That's like people who claim to have same-sex attraction and other illogical behaviors equivalent to civil rights. Or hating people based on their something immutable like their ethnicity or their look. All right? An illogical behavior is not equivalent to how you look in your immutable ethnicity. But the world wants to conflate those two issues. No one makes lying, stealing, and murdering justifiable against them because some evil person who thinks it's fun and worthy of being celebrated does. But that's what people do with the Bible. They take a liar and deceiver up there who speak lies, unbiblical lies, that the Bible actually exposes, and let that define what the Bible actually says, rather than acknowledging what it says that actually exposes the very evil person. Knowledge only has its usefulness after one has acquired wisdom, according to the truth, which exposes himself and the world to know good and evil, to discern the knowledge rightly, to see if it's even coming from an honest place, void of agendas and corruption. So I'm just going to leave it here. I have much more to say, but I'm sorry I had to go in a little bit. Peace out.